segment is sponsored by the Creating Change Group with a motivational message by Marvin McQueen.
Greetings, everyone. This is Marvin McQueen II, and I'm stopping by for a second to give you a motivational moment. Today, I want to tell you that confident people believe in themselves. I don't want you to ever forget that confident people believe in themselves. One of the best things that you can do is tap into that confidence that you have on the inside. If you believe in your ability to make a right decision or choose the right path, then you are well on your way. Now, if you're lacking any of this, this does not mean that it's over for you, but you can build it every single day. This does not mean that you should stifle others that are around you that may not have the same beliefs that you are in, but instead quietly stay firm and hold your ground. Trust your instincts and the knowledge that you've gained by living this life. The good news is there are a lot of us in this world, and most of us need help with confidence. But today is a great day for you to know to have that confidence, you have to believe in yourself. All right, that's your moment.
You're watching TIMA in Session, a global artist-inspired movement. David Wimble is the publisher of the independent musician's resource, the Indie Bible. Since 1999, the Indie Bible has helped independent artists connect with influential people in the music business, those that can help their music gain greater exposure, such as radio shows, music bloggers, magazine editors, labels, distributors, and more. David also publishes several other helpful resources, including the Indie Spotify Bible, the Indie YouTube Bible, the Apple Music Bible, the International Booking Agents Directory, and the Indie Venue Bible. Welcome, everybody, to another segment of TIMA in Session. I'm your host, Teresa Tyree, and I'm so happy to have you with us on today. I think you're going to really love this segment that we're doing on today. It is a great pleasure of mine to introduce to you a gentleman by the name of David. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you more about him. But very interesting company called Indie Bible that I think that you all will love to get to know and learn more about. So again, help me welcome David on today. David, welcome to TIMA in Session.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Hello, everyone. Teresa was kind enough to ask me to come on today and talk about some basic promotion principles, I think. How I started, what the Indie Bible is, it's a directory to help independent artists connect with the people that they need to connect with in order to get more exposure for their music. This is a principle that applies to every artist at every level. Whether you're Janet Jackson or Lady Gaga or someone recording out of your basement, there's several things that you need in order to become, to allow people to become more aware of your music. One is you have to, of course, get airplay. And these days, airplay is not only radio. Now, the big area of airplay is actually streaming. So Spotify, Apple Music. Next, people need to find out about you. They need to know that you exist. So you do interviews like this, and also reviews. So people know, should I buy this music? Should I not buy it? The problem is with the independent artists, Rolling Stone magazine or Ebony is not going to come up to you and review your music. The odds are insurmountable. Like once in a while, they'll do an independent artist just to make them sound indie friendly, but they're going to do all the big names. But there's a whole world of resources out there that will review the music of independent artists. Doesn't matter how small you are. They'll review it. They'll interview you. They'll stream it. They'll play it on the radio show. And of course, there's companies that will market it. So in this overwhelming world of music that we live in, regardless if you're gospel music or hip hop or jazz or whatever the genre, it's overwhelming when you record your music. Of course, you're thinking when you record it, this is the most amazing music that's ever been made. It's just wonderful. That's how I started. You're in the studio. This is incredible. And there's this magical thinking that this music is so great, it's going to sprout wings and start finding people on its own. But the reality is that's when the work really starts. That's the fun part about creating this wonderful music. The work starts when it sinks in that I only have so many friends and so many family members. How's anyone else going to hear about my music, this wonderful music I created? So that's where we come in. We help you to connect with people that their passion is helping people like yourself. Like there's people that their passion is creating music, but there's also a wonderful world of people out there that their passion is helping people to get heard. So that's what we do. We connect those people. We've been doing it for about 22 years now.
So let me go back a little bit. That's everything that you said. I really believe is true about indie music. But let's go back and talk a little bit more about the formation of Indie Bible. How did Indie Bible get started?
Well, when we go back 22 years, I was working in high tech at the time, and I was recording my CD. Was my dream in life to record a CD. So I was recording that in my off hours, and we were getting close to the end of the recording. And I started having those thoughts like, reality starting to sink in here. How's anyone ever going to hear this? Now, it's hard for especially younger people that are listening to understand that 22 years ago for the internet was like going back to the prehistoric times with dinosaurs and whatnot. The internet was known, but it was really like, what is this thing? So like the major companies would have a website like Ford and Colgate and companies like that. But for everyone else, it's kind of like, yeah, we'll put a website up, but we don't know what's going on. And so it was like the Wild West. And so what was happening is I would be at work when I was supposed to be working, and I had an internet account. It wasn't even a given back then. The only reason I had it is because I had to download some fixes for different applications we were using. So I was thinking, well, maybe this internet thing can help me out. And one thing that was a lot of was college radio stations, community radio stations at that time. And so I just started getting addresses and names and kind of had a template and started sending out to these people. And 22 years ago, another thing that didn't really exist was just coming in was video, which is hard to imagine. But like YouTube was probably born right around that time. Because we're talking, most people still had dial-up, so video just wasn't practical at that time. So I'd be out there kind of trying to find what's going on, and there was also a lot of these free websites that people would set up, and what they were are predecessors to today's blogs. What these were AOL had one. There was a company called Zoom, like XOOM, Homestead, Lycos. And what it was is a free website, and you could put anything you want on it. You could do anything with it. But the problem was, especially back in those days, is that you'd go to these websites and just all these ads would pop up. And when you're dealing with most people dealing with dial-up, that was really time consuming. So you could wait 10 minutes at one website just for all these ads to pop up. And so, these people could do it. It's just like a blog. It could be about anything. It could be about cooking or cars. But a lot of people had a review website. So they would review music of all genres. But the problem was, because they were free, somebody could just say, Wednesday afternoon, you know what, this is getting boring. I'm going to go and move on and do something else. So what you would have is this website that was up with these reviews. And for an artist like myself, you're saying, I can't tell if this is active. Today's blogs are all timestamped. So okay, this blog has been active for, a year or so. Back then, there was no indication. Is it still active? Is it not active? And what they used to do to trick people is on the bottom of their website, they would have, I don't know if you remember this, last updated used to be a common thing. You go to a website, it would say last updated August 9th, 2021. But what it was a trick, because the app would update every day to the current day. So it would always make the website seem current. And for me, trying to find places to send my music was highly frustrating. And I just thought, I said, there's got to be a map to this giant mess. I mean, there's a lot of good things to find, radio stations, reviewers, but the time it takes is just really frustrating. And so I created this, my own personal database of places to send my music. And I just thought, I wonder if, I'm frustrated. There must be other people that are frustrated too. Maybe this is the window of opportunity, or the door of opportunity opening to me. And so I ran it by a few people I knew, and they said, we think it's a great idea. So the first Indie Bible was born. And what I did is I said, if I want to be successful with this, it's going to have to cover every genre. So I just went every day, worked many hours every day, went through all the different radio and review websites, and just determined, is this active? Should I add this one in? And then I came up with a collection. I think the first edition was, let's say, 2,000 different listings. It was really, really raw. It was spiral bound. It was actually photocopied, as it turned out. But people loved it. And so just every year I've tried to improve it. And we've been doing it for 22 years now. And so it was, of course, my career never went anywhere. I kind of got, my band broke up and I got derailed. So I'm one of those people that's originally started out as a musician, but I got sidetracked, and here I am so many years later. But there's no regrets. I enjoy what I'm doing, and life has been good to me. So I'm happy with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I read that, you have Indie Bible, but I saw you also have like a Indie Bible for YouTube and an Indie Bible for Spotify. And I do want to ask you some questions about Spotify. But before we talk about Spotify, tell me how how your Indie Bible, first of all, how it works, and then tell me a little about the Indie Bible YouTube.
Okay, well, the original Indie Bible was always created through the eyes of a musician. So me being a musician, I could understand what a musician needs, kind of the things we talked about before. So you need reviews, you need airplay. A bonus would be to get some interviews done, but you also need promotions. We had to look at promotional sites, like PR, publicity, marketing, and promotion. So I always wanted it to be totally focused on something. So when a musician bought the directory, they say, this is something I can use. Later on, new kind of technologies developed. So we needed MP3 sites. Social media started happening. Remember, MySpace was this breakthrough, crazy thing that started the whole social media craze. So we had to have a section for social media. And it's just always been, I'm a musician for people. I'm a musician with a very low budget and limited time. Maybe I'm a single mother with raising a couple children, or maybe, I'm working 2 jobs and my husband's working 2 jobs. I only have limited time, and limited funds. So we provide this. So, some of the people charge, but a lot of it was free. So, for instance, all the radio stations free. All these websites with reviews were free. It's just a matter of you picking the ones you want to contact. And we always made sure to sort it by genre. So you're not, and to, say this is a genre these people deal with. So you're not wasting your time trying to figure, does this person listen to gospel, or did they listen to jazz? So we do all that kind of pre-work for you. So what we're really selling people is time. These are things that people could find. It's not like hard to find, because we're going several layers of referrals from referrals sort of thing, but it's really all out there for people to find, but it just takes an incredible amount of time. So we're helping artists save them time by saying, here's people that are willing to listen to your music, whether it's, these days streaming or they're willing to do reviews, or they're willing to play your music on the radio, or they're willing to promote you, whatever it is. But it's so concentrated for the average person that's just trying to make a living really with their music.
This segment of TIMA in Session is brought to you by the Branding Spot Network and Marketing Agency. Don't just make an impression, leave your mark. And by the Creating Change Group, bringing positive change through motivation, movement, and momentum. Now, I know a lot of independent artists who are trying to do just that. And a lot of them get discouraged because they can't find, those resources, or if they do find resources, they don't have a lot of success with getting their music out there, So do you have a remedy for that, or is there some type of advice that you can give them when they run into those type of roadblocks?
Well, let's take streaming, since streaming is so popular. Let's take that for an example. So with our directory for, let's say, Spotify, we have, I think, 4,200 playlists. Of course, it's sort of by genre, so not every playlist is going to apply to every artist. And these are they call them curators. It used to be, with radio, it's DJs. With streaming, it's a curator. They curate these lists. So let's say there's 150 for gospel. So if you were to contact, let's assume it's an appropriate contact method, that you're being eloquent and respectful of what they're doing, and say there's 150 of them. Well, if you get 20 responses, fantastic. That's just the world we live in. That it's, or the music world. It's all about numbers. And I compare it to sending out a resume. So if you're a really qualified, let's say, marketer of sewing machines, I don't know, anything. So you send your resume out. Let's say you send out 200 of them. Well, if you get 15 replies, I mean, that's pretty good. Then you have something to work with. So maybe out of that, you get 12 first interviews, and then out of that, 5 second interviews. Well, that's pretty amazing, and that's pretty much what would be expected. So the same is with music. And this is where a lot of people really jump off the wagon, because it is so frustrating to take your time and you carve this beautiful letter and you contact all these people. Let's say you contact 100 people and 5 people get back to you. And a lot of times they blame me. These people are stupid, but it's just the way it is. So my advice is, okay, you have to respect the math. Number one, my fingers up here. You have to respect the math. Secondly, is the most important thing, and I can't emphasize this enough, is you have to present yourself to them the way that they ask you to. So, for instance, a lot of people these days, they don't want to be bombarded with emails, so they'll have a submission link. Say, contact us through our submission link. Or another thing is a company called Submit Hub, which is kind of like an agency that screens out submissions. So what happens with Submit Hub, you would go to the curator's Submit Hub page, and it's going to cost you a couple of dollars. So I think it's about $2 it costs you. But they're saying contact us through Submit Hub, contact us through our submission link. So don't email them, don't phone them, don't email them an attachment with your MP3 on it. I wrote an article actually a few years ago, because one of the most popular questions I was getting, most common questions, was, how do people want to be contacted? And I said, for every person you contact, you have to go to their submission page. Like, a lot of times we'll have the information, but everybody's different. Some people want attachments, which is crazy to other people. Other people, if you send them an attachment, your email is going to be immediately deleted. So it's a lot slower, because what most people like to do is they like to do an e-blast. So they'll gather all the email addresses. They'll send out an e-blast. They say, well, it didn't take too long. And then they'll wonder why did two people only get back to me, or one person got back to me and they cursed me. This is something that it's the most likely place that someone's going to take a shortcut, but it's the place that you absolutely can. If you want to succeed, you have, just like if you ask people to contact you, like send me an email and send me one paragraph about yourself. If you start getting people sending you like 10-page books about their history, and they're sending attachments and whatnot, after a day and a half of this, you're saying, oh, this is really ticking me off. This is really bothering me. So if you can contact people the way they want to be contacted, and it's not just for streaming, it's for bloggers, it's for the YouTube people, everybody. So there's the contact them the way they want it to be, but kind of attached to that is the most obvious thing of all, is take the time to find out their name. With our streaming directory, so the Spotify directory, the Apple Music, and the YouTube, what we've done is throughout the directory, we have full pages with advice from curators, just one snippet. And the common one is that, because I contacted these curators, I said, could you please tell me something that you would like to convey to different artists? And one of the most popular responses I got was, take the time to find out my name, which sounds, well, that's pretty obvious, but people just don't do it. They don't do it. And then secondly, they don't respond or contact people the way they want to be contacted. If you can do those two things, find out their name, even listen to their playlists. I listen to your playlist or listen to your radio show, and I really think that my music, I love the songs you played. I really think my music would be a great fit. And that will put you right to the front of the lineup. Because these people all day, they're being bombarded. Hey, dude, or hey, I attached my song, or I'm going to be a star. And if you're just somebody that comes through and show these curators, radio hosts, bloggers, that you've taken the time to read what they do, to find out their name, and to make sure your music's a good fit, wow, that just turns a light bulb on for them.
Want to know what success looks like? Then register now for the Grow, Expand, Thrive virtual workshop to get clear, get active, and get results. For more information and to register, visit experienceget.com. It's interesting that you said that, because being personable goes a long way. And obviously, research goes a long way. And I think that a lot of indie artists get caught up in the whole music side and wanting to be, an artist, and not thinking so much about the business side, which is just as important as being on the stage. For those of us who are artists, getting on the stage is like, second to none. That's the easy part. But understanding the business part of it and taking the time to research and taking the time to add some personal touches to that, I think is just very, very important. And I'm really glad that you touched on that the way you did. I'm really glad that you touched on that. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I want to ask you about this before time gets away from us, because I feel like this is a really relevant topic, is about Spotify and the royalty situation. So, for instance, I know that a lot of indies put their music on Spotify, and they get paid less than pennies on the dollar for their royalty. Of course, I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Taylor Swift situation, and she takes her music down off of Spotify until they agree to pay her a proper royalty. So coming in as an indie artist, and of course, every artist wants to receive royalty for their work. Just tell me your take on this whole situation.
Well, my take on this ties in with what my take used to be when just downloading music was big. They used to have, sites like mp3.com and all these websites where people would go to, like LimeWire. They're still out there, but they're not as popular anymore. And my belief was, for indie artists especially, is the people that are downloading your music weren't going to buy it in the first place. So you're not really losing anything. What it could lead to is they could actually say, hey, I really like this artist. I've done it myself. My wife has done it. That you say, I really like this artist, and you go and you buy their CD. Mm-hmm. The same principle applies with Shazam. Same sort of ideas. I've done that before. Is Shazam the song on TV and listen to the song, and I like this artist, so I'm going to buy a CD from them. So when you take it to the streaming, I have this. This is just my opinion, but I have the same opinion that these people that happen to hear your song on a specific playlist, those people had no intention of ever buying any of your music. The fact that they heard your song playing as a bonus and as a marketing and promotion opportunity for you, that they say, hey, I really like Teresa's song. I'm going to check her out. And then there's a more likelihood of them buying your music or going to, you can't go to iTunes anymore, but to buy some streams or to buy your CD. And I understand people that are totally against it and they don't like having anybody listening to any of their music for free, but it's just not practical. There's a massive ocean of billions of songs and millions of artists out there, and if you're going to be super rigid like that, you're not Taylor Swift. So if you say, I'm not going to put my music on Spotify and have people listen to it for free or almost free, like I just say a fraction of a penny, you're missing one of the most amazing promotional opportunities in the current era. I mean, it's just the number of people listening to music there. So, my number one rule about the whole music business is you have to create your opportunities. Like I've heard so many stories. I used to go to conferences a lot. And one story that comes to mind is this guy that had a CD. So he got a local sandwich shop to play his CD, in the sandwich shop. And there was a director in there one day he was making a movie, in this town, he was making a movie, and he heard the music. And he said, wow, that is great. Who is this guy? So, long story short, the guy got his movie and as part of got his music as part of the soundtrack of this movie. Because it sounded like a little meaningless opportunity at the time, but he got his music in the sandwich shop, so he created the opportunity. I myself was, when I was at a conference in New York, I used to stay at my friend's on Bleecker Street, and I used to love it late at night walking, just go for a walk and people watch. And I was walking by, it was kind of like an import shop one night, and this beautiful music was playing. And I went in to the store and I asked the lady who the artist was. And I think I bought 2 or 3, whatever music she had, I bought all 3 of the CDs this lady had. So one funny thing about the universe is once you put yourself out there in the smallest way, or in this case, your music, you have no idea what's going to happen. You really don't. But you do know if you don't get it out there, it's not going anywhere. So my advice to people out there is get your music out, even some small, piddly little thing. It all adds up in a momentum forward, because the law of the universe I like to cite all the time is that for every action, there's a reaction. For everything you do, however small, something is going to happen. This is you're not rewarded for your work. So something's going to happen. It might not be what you think or the way you wanted it, but there's going to be positive circumstances to you taking every opportunity you can to put your music out there.
And I think that that's great also because, you know, like you said, you started out, you wanted to get your music out and you wanted to be a musician. And then it kind of led you down this path to help other musicians. Not saying that you still couldn't get your music out, but you found a way to really expound upon the idea that you had to create such a wonderful product like Indie Bible. And so I think that a lot of times we do want to pursue, or we're just so blindsided that we want to just pursue this. A lot of times we miss the opportunity or the blessing in what else may come along, and we kind of can get sidetracked. But you're not only do you have opportunity now to get your music out, but you have taken the opportunity to help so many other musicians and so many other artists who want to get their music out. And you made a very good point about Spotify. I love what you said about that. So that being said, what you shared, how can outside of just putting their music on Spotify, how can indie artists really benefit from Spotify?
Well, with my philosophy, I would get on as many playlists as you can. What you want to do is, like everything we do with music is to find more ears, because with more ears, there's more opportunity. People spread the word, or people buy your music. So very simple, get on as many playlists as you can. Now, the difference about Spotify to the old traditional radio stations is if you got your music on a radio show, even if it was like super popular, and if the radio host really likes you, you might get like one play, and then maybe 2 weeks later they play you again, and then maybe a week later they play. So you're going to get like very spotty airplay because they have a lot of music to draw from. The difference with a curator for Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music is that they have kind of like an all-star team playlist that they create. And what they want is more people coming. They're all about subscribers or listeners to their playlist. And that's kind of how the status works with curators. It's, you have 1.4 million listeners versus 35 listeners. Sort of like the person over here is more important in that world. If they're not more important, but they act that way. So you want to get on as many playlists as you can, because what happens if you make it on their little all-star team, they could have multiple playlists, but each playlist is, they have a billion songs to choose from. So if you get on one of them, that's permanent until they decide to replace you with someone. So you could be on a playlist for weeks or for a month, and 24 hours a day, people can go, and if they happen to listen to this playlist, they're going to hear your song. Now, of course, the major problem that this arises from this is that a lot of curators recognize that, we kind of have these people, we have the leverage over them. It's like a boss having a leverage of who they hire. So in the case of Spotify, a lot of people have they have fees. So they're not hiding them, and the fees can be really high. But a lot of times they're like really nice people. Oh, yeah, come on, and you realize at the last minute that there is a fee, and that's we have notes in our directory. If there's any hidden fees, please let us know. We'll make them known, because it's a big business to, so a lot of these different companies, they have, millions of listeners. And so what they say, if you want to get on our list, you're going to have to pay for it. So that leads to different schools of thought. But, I think if it's reasonable, why not? If they have documented, so many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of listeners, they're not charging too much, I'd say, why not? Like people hired radio promoters in the past to get spotted airplay here and there. You have a chance to get on a pretty significant playlist that gets a lot of listeners. And if it's not costing you too much, and I would go for it. But that's something you have to weigh out. What really breaks my heart is when I see people just totally ripping people off, like just taking advantage of you. You know, the artists are very emotional. I think if people just hear my music, you know, I'm going to sell millions, and so they kind of, you know, play in those heartstrings. And yeah, if you put your music on my list, you're going to be a big star. And so we, you know, whenever possible, if it's obviously a place that I think is inappropriate, we don't list those places. I don't want them ripping people off like that.
Stay tuned for more TIMA in Session with our special guest, David Wimble from Indie Bible. Yeah, that's awesome that you watch out for individuals like that. But our time has passed so quickly. I wish we had more time to talk about this, and I'll definitely want you to come back so we can delve into, you know, some of these things that we've talked about, kind of gotten a high level overview of. But I wanted to ask you, as far as Indie Bible goes, is there a membership fee to subscribe for your services or to sign up for your services? How do individuals who would like to become part of Indie Bible or want to use your services, how are they able to do that?
Well, you can go to indiebible.com, and what we offer is they're all PDF ebooks. And so we have the streaming ones. We also have one for booking agents around the world. We have venues in the United States and Canada. And so you can go to indiebible.com, and there'll be a link to all the different directories that we offer. So what happens if you purchase one of the directories? Indie Bible, actually, when you purchase that, it also has an online version. But the different directories, you have access to them for 1 year. And what we do throughout the year is we have to keep them up to date, right? Or people wouldn't buy them. So we do our very best to keep them up to date. So if you buy, for instance, the Indie Bible, you can download it again in 6 months just to get the most up-to-date version. So you can keep downloading it to get of all our directories to get the most up-to-date version for 1 year. And then after 1 year, you no longer have access. You'd have to buy a new edition of the directory, but you would get that at a discount. So really what you're doing is you're buying ebooks that are updated for a year, and then you would have to buy a new ebook. But if you choose, you can just, if you're happy with it, you can just buy it and keep using it. It's not like after a year, it doesn't self-destruct, but it's just, the industry changes so quickly, it's advised to keep up with it.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to stop by to talk to us on TIMA in Session, and just to give the indie artists some great information, great ideas, encouragement, and, you know, ideas of how they may be able to move forward, even, you know, in the gospel music industry, because like you said, you know, the principles pretty much work. The general principles pretty much work in any genre. Well,
the advantage of the gospel music community is there's a faith there. So you know that there's a guiding force that's helping you. And like everybody else, you're trying to understand it, and you're trying to follow its cue, which is confusing sometimes, but it's there. There's a big difference between it not being there for someone trying to survive and whether it's the music business or just life in general, versus knowing that there's that light and you're just trying to follow it. So yeah, to your members, I mean, you have a great advantage. Just, try and align with that star, and just use common sense and persistence and all those good things, and good things will happen. Well, again, I appreciate all of the things that you've shared today with us on TIMA in Session. And I do so look forward to having you back with us again. You have to go check out Indie Bible. There's great information there. David is a great resource, and he was so very quick to respond and say, yes, I would love to be on the show to share with you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had, and we hope, David, to have you come back again and visit us soon. Thank you again so much for being here on TIMA in Session. Thank you so much. I'd love to come back. Awesome. Bye, everyone. TIMA in Session extends a special thanks to our guest today, David Wimble with Indie Bible.
To learn more about Indie Bible's services, visit www.indiebible.com.